Welcome to another episode of the Nova SBE Futurecast. Today, we are going to talk about the future of artificial intelligence and education. My name is Pedro Oliveira. I'm the Dean of Nova School of Business and Economics, and I'm also a Gulbenkian Chair Professor for the Impact Economy. Today, my guest is Leid Zinolovic, a professor here at Nova SBE as well. Leid, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you and welcome to our podcast.
Hey, good to be here.
It's good to be here with you. It's a pleasure to be here to discuss a topic that I think is challenging to all of us. Yes. We are going to talk about artificial intelligence and education. Leid, to what extent do you think that AI is already changing education?
I don't think that anybody in the world today is actually questioning that AI is changing things, including education. Since ChatGPT has been unveiled, we have witnessed tremendous reflection period for everybody, including people in education. And so people started experimenting. What does this chatbot actually do? How does it work? And then I guess everybody was pleasantly surprised with the outputs. And after the pleasant surprise, there was this point, okay, so this is changing things. And it has already changed education. Why? Because it's accessible. ChatGPT and other large language models are delivered through cloud via platforms, and people can use it for free or via subscription. And that means that every student can actually access it and start interacting with it. And because every student can do that, it's not even a question whether education is going to be changed. It started being changed. How students are learning, how are they responding, how are they testing, how quickly can they get the results. Mm-hmm. That's the demand side for the knowledge. And then we, on the other side, as suppliers of knowledge, we started seeing that, hey, we also are changing the way, because we observe the change and we know that the change is coming. We are experimenting more in terms of how are we delivering our knowledge, what do we delegate to these large language models, and what do we do ourselves, how are we giving exams, how are we learning, and what does it mean for us as scholars, as researchers, but also as teachers, and how does the society work after this? Mm-hmm. These are changes. The change has happened, and it's going to happen even more. So we already started changing.
So, and like, can you provide some examples how this has changed your own teaching, for instance, here at Nova?
Thank you for this question. I mean, in November, I had this class of algorithmic governance, and then the students were so excited when they have interacted with ChatGPT. They said, "Look, have you heard about it?" And yes, I've been playing with it a little bit before it was ChatGPT within the OpenAI's playground, etc. But the enthusiasm was so incredibly high that I said, okay, let us make an exam where you use ChatGPT to give answers to the questions. So my exams were always open book, but now I included GPT. And it was really interesting to see how students react from enthusiasm, from over-reliance upon GPT without critical thinking, so not achieving what they could have potentially achieved, to huge tension because of lack of trust in what the GPT is giving. So they're questioning the answers, but because they're relying, they couldn't know what is theirs and what is GPT's. So the funniest thing of that day was when a student said, "Hey, I am so happy to have an exam tomorrow with a paper and a pen. And not only in the exams, I'm using it in the classes, and I'm increasing the level of the material that I'm teaching to the students because of the existence of GPT, because now I can delegate some of the elements that I need to teach to GPTs, and I know the students are going to work with it. So I can do more things." And what was the most incredible is a couple of days ago, I had this executive education teaching, and the students so much loved co-working with LLMs because of the amount of work that they could produce in such a short amount of time, and the quality of interactions that we had. So, in my case, I'm just thrilled about the opportunity to have LLMs and these AI tools to help us with delivery of knowledge.
Very good.
But can I use this opportunity to ask you a question? You asked me about my usage. You're the dean of the school, huh? And my students, when we talked, they asked me, but can we use GPTs? I said, naturally. And they say, look, but it doesn't sound that everybody or all the places allow GPT. So what is the position of the school about these tools?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. So let me first give you my perspective about this whole thing, and then the perspective of the school. So, first of all, I should say that I'm very enthusiastic about what's going on. I believe, of course, there are many challenges ahead of us, but the opportunity of having a tutor, I can think of these LLMs, ChatGPT, for instance, as a tutor that is sitting next to me that can help me do my work, that is helping our students and our faculty do their work. I think this is a good thing, because there will be a baseline eventually that will be produced by a machine or by an algorithm, so we can actually then put our own time, our own natural intelligence on building on top of that baseline. So this is very interesting, because what's going on is a very fast adoption rate, the highest adoption rate in history, the fastest adoption rate in history, and many people are now familiar with these LLMs. They are using it already, so there's no way to stop it. I think it would be not very smart to try to stop ChatGPT or other apps, other LLMs. So what we have to do, and I don't think we have any other option, is to embrace it. And we should embrace it, because in fact, as a school, what we need to do is to prepare students to go out to the real world and to do their jobs. And the world out there will be an AI world in a way. So yes, let's embrace it. That means that I think what the school should do is to embrace it, which means to make sure that we are all familiar with what this means for our own courses. So we have been discussing in our faculty meetings, for instance, how can we learn more about it? How can we think about the implications of this to our courses? Because, of course, if before we had courses where an important part of the evaluation was an essay, now that essay, maybe it's not worth the same, because nobody can say who did it. So maybe we should devote more time to discuss the project, discuss the essay, discuss the report. So, for instance, in the discussion of our master thesis, we have increased the time that we devote to discussion. I think it's important that our students are able to critically think about what they are submitting to us, to discuss with us, that are in the jury members, what they wrote in the document, even if it was written by someone else. Now, I think this will increase the importance of orality. So it's going to be more important to discuss a given idea, a given document, than to just submit it and then the faculty or the jury members read that document. So we are embracing it. We are encouraging people to explore it, to think about the consequences for their courses. And if we do it this way, this will prepare the school, our students, for the world out there.
And ourselves, right?
And ourselves, of course. We are all learning, right? So none of us really knows how this is going to evolve. But what we have seen in just a few months, it's incredible.
It's really incredible. And one of the fears that I have, and I'm thinking of myself, of my children as well, because we are not only educators, we also parents, or we have siblings. And now, what is the world that we are all going to face in near future? And there is this element of over-reliance that I guess it's quite important for us as a school. in terms of when you use a lot of this GPS that are in the cars, you may not necessarily know all the streets because you rely upon GPS. If we use too much LLMs, we may over-rely on these LLMs. So I guess for us as a school, it is quite important to find new ways to nurture critical thinking and to not to prevent students to be crippled by the overall or over-reliance on these tools, right? And so this is one of the things, for example, that I've been thinking lately. What do I do as a professor so that I encourage users of LLMs, but I also encourage the use of critical thinking while using LLMs? And for me, this is really where we as a society need to think about what's the future of education. Do you have any thoughts about it?
So we have done a few debates here on campus to promote the debate, and this is far from being over. So do you have suggestions of what a school like ours should be doing?
Yes, it's about future of education and AI, right? I have a couple of concerns.
Yeah.
Personally, as I told you, in these multiple roles that I'm having. And the first concern is, I don't think that the society is experimenting quickly enough in terms of how can we reskill people and give them the knowledge and understanding of working with these tools. And I'm saying this because since November to today, there has been so many changes in terms of evolution of the LLMs. And I still see a lot of children or even people who are in middle management positions and elsewhere who do not use them as much as they could to increase their productivity.
Yeah.
The second part, so we as educators need to be at the forefront. That's the first part. But I'm not talking only about the university education. I'm talking also about the high schools, elementary schools, and to think about relatively quickly, what does this mean? Are we crippling our generations for not using them, or are we crippling our next generations for using them?
Of course.
Which is a part of the debate that you've mentioned, I guess, in terms of what are we teaching? What are we doing?
Exactly.
And it's a really difficult question to answer. And I don't know about it. But what we as a school, and I think we have already been doing, it's not only about me, I've been hearing a lot of students, a lot of professors who have been doing really interesting things with students. Experimentation. Let's experiment. Let's see what it is. Let's be upfront with students. Hey, this is the experimentation. We need to understand what is happening. What are the implications? We need to collectively co-create the world that we want to live in. Because it's quite difficult to answer these questions, but unless you experiment and unless you embrace it and start being in charge of leading this future, we're not going to go far.
Exactly, and I think we need to promote experimentation. I think an interesting example is one that we are going to have here on campus, where what we do is a boot camp where we help patient innovators to further develop what they have. They already have products, or at least prototypes of products. But now, if we use AI, maybe they can rethink their processes or their products. Maybe they can not just improve the technology, but also the design. And AI can help in all these dimensions. So, without going into the details here, I think our role is going to be to promote experimentation. Yes. Make sure that our students, our faculty, but also our corporate partners are experimenting, are reflecting. I think critical thinking, as we discussed before, is going to be absolutely critical. We need to be critical.
Yes.
Because, of course, we are at a stage where it's still relatively easy to be critical because, of course, sometimes ChatGPT will give you the wrong answer and you will say, you see, this is far from being perfect. But this is evolving very fast. And I think soon we will be accepting the answers as given. They are correct most of the time. So we will just assume it's always right. So if we are not critical about what we are getting, this could get us in troubles.
And I think even more, and I'm sorry, it's not about being critical from time to time. We actually need to be focusing on the improving quality of our processes. Okay, some of the things will be automated. We're going to have these things done in a very, let's say, on average, it's going to be of higher quality. But it's enough that mistake is being made once. And we may lose a person that is treated by an AI robot. We may lose money in a company because of the decision that is made by AI. We may enter a war over certain things because there was a wrong signal from a device that we are over-relying upon. We're relying upon AI to guide it. So I think there is a tremendous amount of work for us as a society to understand how to improve the quality of our decision-making, because we're using all these tools that are hopefully going to take away dull things that we'd never like to do, repetitive, not very creative. But then if you integrate AI into these processes, and you get as a human to construct the meaning, to construct the process and verify quality, I think that is going to be very rewarding for humans to think about outcomes and not on the process more, and to control the quality. And if that is one perspective of the world that we're going to live in, then we as educators, I guess we're talking about the future of AI, are most likely going to be very important in making sure that people understand that this is what we have to do. And not thinking AI is going to get you. Mm-hmm. There is a panic, you're going to disappear. But think about, hey, you actually have a role to make it work better, to take away the biases that we had, to see, are we doing the right thing, to rethink morality in this human AI world, to rethink justice, equity, all the other things that we thought about.
So, but Leid, I think one of the risks is that of course, the bad guys, let's for a second divide the world in good guys and bad guys. Bad guys, I mean terrorists, right?
Yeah.
They are embracing it.
Absolutely.
So what's the best way to combat that? Because, if we don't use it, I mean, we will be at a big disadvantage, right? So we actually, I think, need to embrace it even faster than the bad guys, assuming that we are the good guys.
Good assumption.
That we agree on that.
Under these assumptions, right?
Yes.
First of all, it's a big danger. It's a big danger because those that have high incentives to use this faster than the others are those that are not necessarily benevolent, that are not thinking of making good to people. And if that's the case, then we need to incentivize the good use. I don't think that's naturally going to happen. And I think we all need to kind of give a little bit of urgency, but I don't have an answer who, where, and how. But because I don't have an answer, that means that everybody needs to act in terms of learning how to work with these tools and understand to defend what we agree as a civilization, that these are the values that define humanity. What are the universal values of humanity? What does it mean to be moral? To be good. We're discussing, assuming that we're good. And so it is a moment of reflection. But I'm very hopeful of an AI, if I may. Because you're a professor yourself, right? It's impossible for us to adapt to every single person. And I'm going to go back a little bit to education to address those very broad and difficult topics. But going back to education, I'm so thrilled that every person in my classroom, when I talk about something or give them a task, they can go and start exploring and adapt what is the discussion and adapt their learning with the use of AI so they can learn better. And it gives quality of education.
Absolutely. I really like this notion of a tutor, right? Because we always knew that having, say, a tutor would be important for your education, someone that helps you. The good news is that now we have one. It's
And it's only
sitting
gonna be
next to
better.
us. It's available 24 hours. It's not very expensive, not to say that it's free. Because of course, but now almost everyone can have access to AI. So this is amazing. This is a huge opportunity for all of us. So I think what we need to do is to make sure that we use it, we promote it for social good.
Absolutely.
In a way that we beat the other bad guys, right? So the more we do it, the more we use it for social good, the better. And if we do it that way, we will win this battle.
If I may just add this, I think the universities must be in a position of leadership, of leading the future, creating connections to those disparate elements that are in our society, of creating new entrepreneurs who are empowered by the AI, of new managers who manage with AI, but those who are at the same time conscious and aware of their environment and are motivated to help others and increase their level so they can have a dignifying future. Because I don't know who else is going to do that if not universities. And although some universities may be threatened by all this, I think universities are uniquely positioned to be the corrective element in creating those new leaders who can help bring the better future with AI. Because if they don't do it, I'm not sure who is going to do it.
Very good. I agree. I think our university is trying to take the lead. It's our responsibility to take the lead, to consider all the implications, not just for the educational process, but of course for society, because we are preparing our students for society and we need to take the lead. I hope that we are actually taking the lead. Leith, you are my guest. We are almost we are running out of time. Can you summarize what would be your final punchline for a conversation like this? You have that privilege.
It's not a simple thing to do, but I'll try. I think we are entering an incredible world of opportunities where education is going to be available to many in a way that is adaptable to improve the educational process. And then the future of education with AI is simply incredible, at least from what we know now. Whether or not it will be used for other purposes, that's a different story, but that shouldn't prevent us from acting to do the right thing and to educate people to do better and more and make the life better for everybody. So that's it.
Very good. So thank you so much, Leith. Thank you also to our listeners. Please stay tuned. I mean, at Nova, of course, we will do our best to embrace AI, to promote discussion, to promote experimentation. Stay tuned on our activities because there will be exciting things ahead in terms of AI in education as well as AI in other fields. Thank you so much for staying until the end.
Thank you, Pedro, for the invitation.
Thank you.
It was a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Leith.